Coming up, secrets of the music industry from a true entrepreneur. If you're new here, we help service members and vets achieve financial freedom through the military millionaire community, which is comprised of an incredible Facebook group with over 64,000 members, an Instagram, a TikTok, a Pinterest, a social media, everywhere you want to be. We've got a blog, we got a podcast that you're listening to right now, and we got a YouTube channel. You should check them all out because each one is awesome. We also have the War Room, which is a paid mastermind group and the best military investing community in the world. And today's guest is Raymond Lott, a.k.a. the Marine Rapper, or TMR. He's a multi-Billboard charting recording artist. His music is heavily influenced by metal, hip-hop, country, and his service as a U.S. Marine. From 2004 to 2014, where he completed 2 combat tours and 1 deployment to Africa, in February of 2021, the Marine Rapper achieved his first Billboard #1 hit single, featuring on hip-hop's artist Topher's track, The Patriot. Now, in October 21, the Marine Rapper achieved his second Billboard #6 hit single, featuring Topher's track, Let's Go Brandon. And in November 21, the Marine Rapper achieved his third Billboard hit, #7, featuring on hip-hop artist MJ Hank's track, I Left My Home. And there's a whole bunch of other good stuff. They even wrote a song about Yogi Bear, and it's actually really catchy. It's a cadence. And you're definitely going to want to check out this interview because Raymond is smart, and he's really done some cool stuff. And he's going to help us understand how the music industry actually makes money. So the entrepreneur in you is going to be curious, and the veteran in you is going to be stoked that you hung out because this guy's fun. So have a great day, and welcome to the show. Ray, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
I am great, bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to do this. I've been following you on Instagram for a minute now as the Marine Rapper, and I love your stuff. And so this is going to be fun.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I was like, because a lot of times, like, if people don't interact or I don't see a like or something like that, sometimes I'm like, who is that person or whatever? But then if I see them engaging, I'm like, oh, wait, oh, snap, let me show some love back. Because sometimes, like, you get caught up, especially entertainment industry, you get caught up in, like, the glitz and glamour and stuff like that. So I keep on trying to remind myself, don't forget, you came from the hood. Don't act like, you ain't better than nobody. So go ahead and show love or whatever. And I tell people that all the time. They're like, oh, you're such and such. And I'm like, no, I'm just Ray. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, man, I really appreciate that. And so, like, that's why I was like, I got to show you love and show the same type of love that you've been showing on IG. So I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, it is a weird game where people start recognizing you and you're like, dude, when I bought my first house, I was a sergeant. I was a recruiting duty, and I was broke as shit. So,
yeah.
All right, so we're gonna dig into the story more later on, but I like to jump into something big right off the bat, and then go back in time. So, having seen massive success with a song, only for it to have been removed from streaming services like 2 weeks later, right? You had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and we'll talk about that. I'm curious how you deal with, like, the dopamine hits, the highs and lows of social media and just like life. Because, dude, I mean, I'm in social media on a smaller scale, and I know, like, there are days where things don't hit and you're like, it's a weird ride. So I can't imagine how that felt. And I'm just curious how you kind of manage the expectations there for yourself.
It's crazy because in order to not get emotional, you have to know emotions and use emotional intelligence. I learned this a while ago. Emotional intelligence is like understanding why everybody's there, understanding why you're there, and understanding that everybody is living in their own world. So if somebody, after I drop a new song or drop a video, when I post it online and somebody's like, this sucks, a happy person isn't saying that. A happy person isn't logging online and saying, hey, I'm so happy and I just want to tell you how much your song sucks. No, it's an unhappy person, right? Or a happy person isn't logging onto your account and going, I hate this podcast. They're not saying that because they're happy, right? But only an unhappy person, as the saying goes, misery loves company, all that. So once I use my emotional intelligence, realize, man, this person probably just wants some attention. They're just upset because, their wife, their kids, whatever thing they're going through at home, their family, whatever thing they're going through is affecting the way they're talking to me. Or it could just be like a little kid online trying to troll, trying to brag about something at school next day. Or like, oh, yeah, I got the Marine Rapper mad. Or, I hated on this guy's podcast, whatever it may be. I just consider the source. It's an old saying that I've heard. Hey, consider the source, consider what's going on. And then once I realize that, I'm like, man, they don't hate me. They're just mad at themselves. There's been times where I was just like, hey man, somebody was negative on my account or one of my songs. It's like, okay, well, they're like, this song sucks or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, since you're the professional, let me know what I should do. And I'm like, I'm not being facetious at all. Tell me what I should do, whatever. And then once I respond, like just with honesty, hey, are you okay? How are you feeling? The stuff like that. They're like, hey, you know what? I'm actually a fan, man. I just wanted to get your attention. I've actually had comments like that. They're like, I wanted to get your attention, so I put some negative energy out there because people do not respond to like happy stuff. If you go on anybody's account, if somebody goes, hey, congratulations, good job, yada yada yada, you won't see as many responses as the ones you see on the negative. Like you'll
Yeah.
see that that's how the industry is. That's how news is. That's how podcasting is. That's how music is. People only care about the negative. I was in the journalistic field for many years in the Marine Corps as well as outside of the Marine Corps, and there's a saying. It goes, "If it bleeds, it leads." So I just realized that people love to see destruction and violence and all that type of negativity. And me realizing that, I'm like, oh, I can deal with this. Or a lot of times, I'll be like, hey, I can't get upset if I don't log on. I want to be happy today.
Mm,
Sometimes I'll detox. Sometimes I'll be like, no, no social media today. I won't log on.
good.
Um, and also, or the first thing in the morning, especially because I have a routine. I go, the first thing I do today is not going to be open Instagram. It's not going
Ugh.
to go to Facebook because if I do that, if I get, I get up, wash my face, brush my teeth, you know, do my daily routine, all of that, and I stick on schedule, then everything's gonna be on my terms. I'm controlling my own world. I can only control what what I can control. I can't control somebody else's life. So if I go, hey, I'm going to do these things, and nobody else around the world can get in between it because I'm just in my studio, then I'm going to be okay. And I realize that. So it I deal with it with a combination of things, emotional intelligence. I deal with it with, strangely enough, some people may call me, okay, uh, what we used to say in the Marine Corps, they're a motard. They're like, you're a motard or whatever, moto, I don't know. And I'm just like, okay, whatever you want to say. But I literally use the leadership traits to guide my life. And I go, okay, I know myself and seek self improvement, things like that, the leadership traits and principles. And I go,
Yeah.
okay, cool. What do I need to do? Okay, I'm not good at graphics. That means that instead of me trying Photoshop right now, I need to hire a graphic person to do my album cover. And when I do that, that takes the stress away from me, and then I'm happier, and then I don't treat somebody bad, whether it's family, or my daughter or whoever it may be. I'm not treating nobody else bad, and then I'm not triggered by some little kid online saying my song sucks. So it's just kind of like just situational awareness, knowing yourself, as well as having some emotional intelligence. And then once you're ready and once you're solid and you take care of your own household, so to speak, far as like your body, when you log on and like your podcast sucks and you see that, like, okay, cool. I hope you find a good one. There's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there. Hope you find a good one. And then they have nothing to say at that point.
Yeah.
Like, I hate this song. Okay, cool. Have a great day. I'm like, that's not what my numbers say. I do have people who do like it. So can you get out of the way so people who want to listen to it can listen to it?
Yeah.
That type of thing. So like, I just realized that everybody has their own priority in their own world, and once you realize that, you'll be happier, they'll be happier. And I've actually had some of those naysayers or disguised naysayers that are actually fans. They're actually fans. All these people who comment, I'm like, man, if I had naysayers like the fans that I want, I would be platinum every time I drop a record. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Or you get those numbers because
Absolutely.
haters are actually fans in disguise, by the way. And when you realize that, you can actually use that to your advantage. Be like, okay, cool. Well, what don't you like? And they're like, I hate the way your voice sounds. Okay, what else? Oh, I don't like that green light behind you. I was like, okay, cool. Anything else you don't like? I don't like this. And then I actually use haters as like a testing group for research. So I'll be like, somebody will hate on me. I don't like how this looks or this and that. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And they're telling me all these things that are wrong. And then I just take all that data and use that data to improve my brand. And it's worked. Like,
That's
so it's
awesome.
just, it's all perspective and all self awareness. And once you have that down pat, you're able to conquer anything, especially this stupid thing called social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny because I've definitely responded to some people. My like go to when someone leaves just ridiculously hateful comments is just to be like, I hope you find happiness someday, and and it's like it's totally said in like a kind of a snarky whatever,
Yeah.
but it's like I mean that's it's so true that deep down that's exactly what's usually going on. It's they're not mad at you. They just they're mad and they just lashing out wherever they can. Um,
But don't. But one thing I gotta know, don't get it twisted, bro. Sometimes I do wake up and choose violence. I do. No, I do. Like sometimes I choose violence. Sometimes I make a whole like diss song on somebody. Like sometimes I just have
it
that extra.
happens.
Sometimes I have time. You know how they say, "Oh, he had time today." Yeah, I had time today. You know. Sometimes you just got to get your rocks off. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I'll do it. The Marine is still there. Sometimes I'm just like,
It's good engagement.
yeah,
It's good engagement. You go back at those guys and they always comment. It's like I can get like 10 or 15 comments out of this on my.
yeah. And I'm like, thank you for the views. You
Yeah,
know.
thanks for the engagement, buddy. I know
Yeah.
that's not what you were going for. That's funny. All right, so if we go back in time, you were a Marine, obviously, the Marine rapper,
Sure.
wearing his red hat, USMC hat, which I need to buy one of those. I was just talking the other day. I was like, when I was a recruiter, we used to talk shit about how all the old vets come in like red hatters. That's what they
Yeah.
call them. And I'm like, why don't I have one of those yet? I need to wander around in one.
That's when you. That's when you know we're getting old, bro.
I know. I'm like, I need one of those hats. So what'd you do in the Marine Corps? You said journalist. Were you ComCam?
No, well, that people call me that anyway. They go Comcam or Combat Kodak or Hey Photo Guy or whatever. But I actually was what you call a combat correspondent or a war
Oh, cool.
journalist. Yeah. So if you've ever seen that movie, Full Metal Jacket, Private Joker, he was a photojournalist that was embedded within an infantry battalion. And that's
Yep.
exactly what I did. So I served 10 years in the Marine Corps as a combat correspondent with infantry battalions in Iraq and Afghanistan, Africa, all around the world, and stuff like that. Um,
Oh wow.
and I was just covering stories and taking photos and stuff like that. And my number one mission, as like First Sergeant would say, would be like, don't get nobody killed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just stay out of the way. So like I had to be faster than everybody and like the most concealed type of individual. Imagine if you see a war photo of somebody going like this, there's a comcam down there. I usually use the term comcam because they call us all comcam, but there's a
Yeah.
combat correspondent or a combat photo down there um taking a photo. If you see this, there's
Yeah.
there's a lanky fast guy that's downrange. Like, and that
Trying
was
not
me.
to get shot. Yeah.
Trying not to get shot, man. I was jumping rooftop to rooftop like Aladdin, like boom, boom, boom. Because in Iraq, where I was, the rooftops were like literally
Yeah.
lower. So I was running like because I would like to get like aerial shots. I would like to get some really cool shots of in front of the troops a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I was thinking or what was in my mind, but like when you're like super young and you want to like prove something, like you're just doing all this stupid stuff, and and I was like, how did I get shot in that situation?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've all of us have those stories. I think from our time in the Corps of like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have been doing that thing, but I'm glad I'm still here.
yeah. No, I'm glad I'm still here, but it's crazy. I have the stories to tell, but I think they call it Comstrat now. They like combined
Yeah.
everything.
It's a whole weird hodgepodge now of everything. Yeah.
But I didn't do that the whole time. Me and you actually have a parallel because I actually was the I did an A billet at recruiting.
Oh,
So
where were you a recruiter?
I was an MPA. I don't know if you remember those guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
I was
awesome.
actually up near the Dallas area, Dallas Fort Worth area, in a town called Pantego, right by Arlington, where
Yeah.
the like all the sports teams and stuff play and stuff.
Huh.
But yeah, go Rangers, right? But because they won. I got a crazy
Yeah.
story about that. I got a crazy story about the Rangers and both of the Bushes. A little later, I'll tell you. But
I would
yeah,
love
I
to
was
hear.
up in Pantego off of 8th Marine Corps District. Out there in Dallas Fort Worth area and stuff like that. So I was doing all the like inflatables and the educators workshop and
Yeah.
just I was being the nice guy with the teachers and kind of like a caveat. I mean, kind of like a conduit and kind of like a middle guy between the recruiters and the teachers and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that was 2011, 12 around that time. That
Okay.
was when I asked out Betty White to the ball.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so I asked out Betty White to the ball during that time, and it caused a whole issue. And Betty White. I didn't take Betty White. I actually took Linda Hamilton from Terminator.
Oh, I
I
didn't
actually took,
realize that.
yeah, I
That's
took Sarah
awesome.
Connor. So after Betty White said no when I asked out Betty White to the ball, and it went viral and stuff like that. At the time, it was on YouTube, and nobody knew what viral was at that point. There was no
Yeah.
Instagram, nothing. And I saw Betty White, and I was getting all these views on YouTube, and they're coming on the news. Gayle King, Oprah's friend, is all talking about it and stuff. And I'm just like, wow, this is like big leagues and stuff like that. And then Betty White's like, yeah, I can't go, but if you want to, stop by at any of my shows or hang out with me or whatever, we could do something like that. And then Sarah Connor makes a video. It's still up there on YouTube. Sarah Connor makes a video on YouTube and says, hey, I feel so bad. I've been bawling my eyes out because Betty can't go. So if you would, please, please, please go with me. And she like basically begs me. It's up there on YouTube. You can pull it up. Sarah Connor asked Marine to ball, something like that. It should be up
Oh
there.
hell yeah! I see
Yeah,
it. I'm gonna totally put that
yeah,
in the show notes later. That's awesome.
absolutely put it in there. It's a hilarious thing. There's another one of me asking out Betty White, and I'm like doing like a mock PFT, but I'm only doing like one pull up. Um, it's just like
It's
a ridiculous thing.
it's funny because I wrote 3 letters to Taylor Swift asking her to go to the ball
Oh,
while I
really?
was in Afghanistan, but I never got a response. Two of them came back returned to sender. I don't know if the third made it. I found like every address I could online, and I'm like sending them from like the MWR on
Yeah.
like because I was like kind of during that. I forget who it was who started that trend. Was it?
Yeah, it was. He did a guy over. It was a sergeant. He did it. He did it. The
It
first
was
person
what's
was
her
Mila
name
Kunis.
from
Mila Kunis.
Mila?
Mila.
That's what it is. Yeah, Mila Kunis. Yeah.
And then
Oh,
then the girl asked out Justin Timberlake.
yep. That's
There's a
right.
girl. That's actually my buddy because like I actually got to know her, and we have the same birthday and everything, which is another weird thing. But she's an MMA. She's an MMA fighter, bro.
Oh, rad.
So
That's
yeah, she's
rad.
an MMA fighter, and then we got to know each other and become friends and stuff like that. And then I asked out Betty White after that because we're like there was like 3 of us who did it. And then after that, the
Yeah.
Marine Corps was like, we need to cut down on this. They're like, we
Which
don't know
is
what
which
this.
is weird because like that's to me that seems like a good publicity thing. Like celebrities are like, oh yeah, the Marine Corps ball, of course I want to do that. But
But it's crazy because like back then it was like taboo for military to be online.
true, that's true.
But
But now you
it's
think
so crazy
TikTok.
now you think about it. Now they have all types of online
Oh
extracurricular
yeah,
activities.
oh yeah. Some of it that you're like that doesn't even meet like uniform codes at all, but nobody seems to care. So whatever.
No.
All right. So were you always into music, or when did you decide you wanted to be an artist?
Okay. So I always listened to music, but it wasn't rap. I've
Okay.
always so I was born in Newark, New Jersey, former murder capital across the bridge from New York, right? My
Okay.
mom, so Newark, New Jersey, Shaq is from there. Naughty by Nature, they're from there. Queen Latifah's from there. Redman is from there. Like a lot of people are from Jersey, right? So a lot of successful people come out of there, but it's not
Yeah.
a nice area in some
Okay.
places. So my mom wanted to get out of there. She's like, let's get out of here. So like when I was like 4 or 5 or whatever, when my mom and my dad broke up or whatever, I went over to San Diego, California, and I moved out there to a place called Oceanside, California.
Yeah.
Oceanside, Oceanside, California is a city outside of a Marine Corps base called Camp
Camp
Pendleton. And I know
Pendleton.
I know you know, but I just want to share it with the people if you guys don't know or whatever.
Yep, I
But
got stuck there twice.
man, I'm gonna tell you how I got there. But like before any of the Marine Corps stuff happened, I was just like an awkward kid listening to rock music because out there in Oceanside, California, it's an area called Tri City, and all they did was skateboard, rollerblade, bike, and listen to
Yep.
rock music and listen to grunge music, and that's what
I'd say
they did.
that's like Yellow Card's backyard.
Yellow Card, X Games, Sublime,
Yep.
all that type of stuff. That whole like skateboarding culture, and then not until they started incorporating like hip hop and skate videos was when I started getting to hip hop, and I started to freestyle and started to rap battle people. Like we had a movie theater, and there was like there were stairs, and underneath the stairs we would rap battle and stuff like that. And I started getting better and better and better because I was like really bullied And the way to get back at people would be like, I want to hurt you with my words because I couldn't physically do it. Because I used to be 4'11" and like 90 pounds.
Okay. Forced to be
And
reckoned with.
yeah, and so like I got made fun of, and then I kind of like found hip hop and freestyling and stuff like that, and then also wrestling. I got on the wrestling team, but I was still 4'11". I used to wrestle at 112. It's kind of crazy because I'm like, man, if I was stuck with wrestling, would I be doing MMA right now? It's just crazy to think about. But I was like 112 pounds, and then I got a growth spurt, and I grew like a foot or whatever. But I'm still in the rock music still, and then I started working at Taco Bell as a rapper. I was wrapping up the tacos. I was literally a rapper at Taco Bell. And, and I don't know if you know the creator, Glenn Bell, is actually a Marine. He just passed away, but Glenn Bell made Taco Bell. Because he was doing burgers and tacos, and then he was like, I want to do something nobody's doing. So he went and he went that route. Glenn Bell did. Yeah. But anyways, like I just was into rock music, but not that much into rap. But I was like getting better at rapping, but I wasn't like the level I'm at now. Like there's so many nuances, like to be a full artist. Like I produce my own stuff now, but I wasn't there. I was just freestyling, like rap battling. Like if you've ever seen like 8 Mile with Eminem, like that in somebody's face and saying, "Oh, look at your shoes." You know what I mean? Stuff like that. You just make fun of them basically. And your mom is so fat, like you know what I mean? Like the stupid stuff. And then I was working at Taco Bell, and then I came across my recruiter, and she was just like, "Hey, look at yourself. Like, what are you going to do with your life, et cetera, et cetera? You're going to work at Taco Bell for the rest of your life." So imagine my recruiter's a female for one. Small little blonde ball of fire is telling me I need to get my life together. It's like, "Hey, what are you going to do with your life? You need to do something." And she's like, "What are you waiting on?" And I didn't tell her what I was waiting on, but she didn't know at the time. I was like, "Am I afraid to die?" Right? That was in my brain. That was the thing that was waiting for. Because all the recruiters, you being a recruiter, you put out those freaking square little tabs that says money, food, travel, etc., etc. And she's putting these stupid little Lego pieces in front of me, and I'm like not interested in any of them. But she doesn't know it, and I know that when you're trying to like, what do you guys call it, pack somebody out or whatever? When you guys are trying to figure it out, and you don't know what the kid is thinking. And I was thinking, am I afraid to die? You know what I mean? Because my mom's like, your dad, by the way, also my dad's a Marine too. Like every male in my family has ever been a Marine. My dad, my stepdad, my cousin, my uncle, everybody, Marine. So she's like, you're going to go to war. Because this was like after I had got my degree in drafting. This was after I knew everything about my dad, and it was after 9/11 and everything. So my mom was like, you're going to die, da, 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 da. She's like, I don't want my baby going to war. She's like, they're going to make you infantry. You're going to go overseas to Iraq with infantry. And I'm like, Mom, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And I'll tell you what happened later, but like, be okay. And then I gave up rap music at that point because I got over it and I was like tired of my mom like living in the apartment and stuff like that. And I wanted to help my family and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. How bad could it be? So I go there and I'm like, I'm going to join. What's my job? She's like, I got you open contract. I said, oh, okay, cool. I go home. My mom knows all about the military because her husband, Marine, said, hey, Mom, they gave me an open contract and I'll leave in 2 weeks. She's like, open contract? She's like, you're smart. You just graduated drafting school. Go back and tell her you want a smart job. And I go back and smart job translated into something in entertainment because I was rapping, kinda. I go back. I tell the recruiter I want something entertainment. She's like, entertainment? She's all, get out of here. Come back tomorrow. I'll get you something. I come back. She's like, I got you public affairs. Now get the F out of my office. And so then I go to MEPS and stuff. She doesn't tell me like that I have to do this test and stuff. But anyways, I ended up scoring like higher or whatever. And then I go to boot camp and stuff, and I'm doing my boot camp thing. And then they reveal the jobs, right? Yeah. And the drill instructor's like, private joker. I'm like, what? What's a private joker? He's like, you're a private joker. You'll see. Anyways, then afterwards I go to MOS School, and they're like, all right, MOS School, you guys are in public affairs MOS School at Fort Meade, Maryland. You're going to learn how to write and take pictures, and this is what you guys are doing. So I go and do that. I pass it. After the second time, I flunked, which is kind of crazy. I flunked the first time because I did like a wrong error. You can't have errors in writing because they're trying to teach us not to have errors in the newspaper. So I flunked the course. I redid it. And then after I redid it, they're like, hey, we're gonna approve 10 people to go to Japan to do this radio thing, to be a radio journalist. And so imagine me, I was into music and I was like, oh cool, maybe I can like finagle something, doing the like radio thing. So I go and I do the audio edition and they're like, yeah, you failed. And I'm like, how'd I fail? They're like, you mispronounced the word ask. Me being a me being a black kid or hood, or if you're using any slang, I know you know what I'm talking about. A lot of us say ask. We say, hey, let me ask you a question. Like, ask me a question. And so like that's how I grew up and stuff like that. Us all our neighborhood kids. And we say let me ask you a question. I never pronounce the word ask. If you go into like my catalog, some of the words in there is the word ask, just as a like if you know type of thing. I say ask in my rap just to show that I could do it rapping fast. But so they're like, because you mispronounced the word ask, you cannot go to Japan, you cannot be radio, you cannot be Robin Williams, not happening. So I'm like, man. So they're like, but what we're going to do is we're going to send you to a prestigious unit in California. And I'm like, okay, what's that? They're like First Marine Division, because I first class PFT and everything. I didn't know what it was at first, right? And I go to and then I realized that First Marine Division means that I'm going back to my hometown of Oceanside, California. So basically, I felt like a reservist of sorts or something, because I just went on base, and then anytime I wanted to come off base when we had Liberty, I went off base and like did that type of thing. Yeah. And then they're like, who wants to go to Iraq? Me. Like, I was like, I gotta get out of here. I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here right now. I didn't join up to go nowhere. So like at that moment, all of my music aspirations were put on pause. I'm not like doing nothing, right? And then so like when I was over in Iraq, I'm like freestyling and stuff. And I'm just like, man, I wish I would have like had like a recorder or something that I could have be like putting all my raps down with. So the next time when I deployed to Afghanistan, I made sure that I had a whole like portable studio. I'll send you the picture. You can, show the people the picture Beautiful. Later or whatever. But it's me inside of one of the tents, like mixing my own stuff with headphones on. Like, and I have a shaved head and I'm in my skivvies and stuff like that. And it's like one of the dopest pictures ever. Not because I was good, because I sucked, but it was because,
shows the journey.
It's the beginning. You know what I mean? It's just the beginning. Yeah. So it's
like that. It's like that picture of Jeff Bezos working on a table that's a door.
And it's just like what, Amazon in the back or something. What does it say?
Yeah, it says Amazon like on the side and like some crappy poster with like doesn't look anything like their logo now. Yeah.
No, it literally looks like hip hop because it looks like spray paint or something on the wall or something. But yeah, so like I started to pick up music back up in Afghanistan, and then after I got back, and then asked out Betty White to the ball, that was when I noticed that I had a knack for social media. And then my sergeant at the time, he was like, hey man, this social media stuff is picking up. Why don't you use social media stuff to propel your music? And I was just like, oh snap, I can leverage the social media to boost my music up. And so that's when my music stuff started to pick back up, was like in 2011 and 12 and stuff like that. And then after I spent 10 years in, I did like a two-year extension down there in New Orleans at Mar 4 Res, down there in New Orleans by the Coast Guard and stuff like that. And they're like, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay in? Because I was a sergeant at the time. They're like, do you want to stay in? Do you want to get out? And I was like, I'm a sergeant right now, and I don't want to be a staff sergeant that's not thinking about the troops and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out. They're like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to be a rapper. And they're like, yeah, right. Which is like so funny. It's a part of the journey. You know what I mean? They're like, do you have a plan? And I was like, no. And like my staff NCOs were very smart by saying that I needed a plan, because I figured that out afterwards. But I started to pick it up after I decided to get out. I went to it's called the Los Angeles Film School off of Hollywood Boulevard, Los Angeles Recording School. A lot of people have been there, a lot of famous people and stuff. They record there all the time. Like when the school closes, like a lot of your favorite acts, they go in there and they record in those school studios.
That's cool.
So I went there and I started taking music seriously, really there, because imagine I have this American flag jacket, wearing all black leather. I have a red mohawk, have a bandana on my head, and I'm sitting there, and then we're doing like this, like introductions. So I'm sitting there, and then next to me is another guy who looks kind of like gothic and stuff, a black guy in like black gothic gear, dreadlocks and stuff. And then, so the teacher asked that kid, he says, hey, what do you do? And he's like, well, I'm I'm in a metal band and I make like metal beats, but like I put the metal guitar on top of a rap trappy beat, but I don't know any rapper that could do that or likes rock music. And I'm like, I'm sitting there next, I'm about to introduce myself next. And I'm like, bro, I grew up off of rock music and I could rap. He's all, nah. He's like, you can rap on these guitars? I was like, bro, I got you. And then after that, we made this song called Star Spangled Banger, which is like my flagship song that kind of like expresses how I feel as like a patriotic American being black, because that's so controversial. That because you're not supposed to be patriotic if you're black, but people were like, "How could you be patriotic? How could you be patriotic?" and stuff like that. So I was just like, whatever. So I just explained that, and then because I explained my emotions, talking about how patriotic I am and how I serve the country, and this is the thanks I get after I come back. That was like my first biggest hit, and Apple featured it. It's got millions of streams and views and all types of stuff across all the platforms and stuff like that. And it generated a whole bunch of revenue and stuff, but it kind of like set the tone for the rest of my career. And then I realized that it was cool that I was freestyling and rapping and stuff, but all I had to do was combine my love for rap music, rock music, and social media, and I was able to make a career. And so that is how I was able to take my love and my interest for music and make it into a career.
I love it, man. What a journey. I mean, that's like full circle, and it's funny how life works out. People say, you're lucky, but it's like luck is when opportunity meets hard work. Like you were in the right place at the right time because you were trying to accomplish something, and the guy next to you is like, I'm looking for this, and you're like, oh shit, that's an opportunity. Like that's just life works that way if you're looking for stuff and if you're working towards your goals. And that's super cool. All right, so out of curiosity, let's see where we go next. I guess really just curious, in the music industry, like I don't. So I've got a friend who's a producer, and he's always like, the money's in producing. But I'm curious, like how does it work from a financial aspect, like on the rap side, like. I don't like is most of your like when as far as like income streams, is that like ad revenue? Is that labels? Is that views? Like where do you see the majority of the impact for your efforts?
Great question. So as I was in school and I was about to graduate, just the music course, music production, being able to, play keys and stuff like that. I thought, what would Master P do? What would the big moguls do? Would they just go to school to learn the music side? And I said, no. When I watched Master P, he always knew the business side. And the reason why Master P is killing it right now in any business he does is because he always goes, this is a business. How can I leverage whatever talent, skill, product to turn into a business side? So I was like, okay, I'm going to stay in school 2 more years to get my business degree in music. So that's what I did.
Awesome.
And because I did that, they taught me everything that I needed to know as far as copyrights, far as royalties, far as streaming, far as sales, far as marketing, far as Transmedia. Are you familiar with Transmedia?
I'm not, no.
I think most people are actually, if you think about it. So if you know Disney, if you know Marvel, if you know Star Wars, if you know those brands, then you know that what they leverage for their sources of revenue is Transmedia. So I may go, hey, I know I have a great personality, but they're not into rap. My fan base isn't into rap, so they haven't bought a rap song yet. However, they may buy my book. So I'm transferring my story from rap to a book. I'm transferring my story from rap to a podcast. I'm transferring my story from rap to a toy. So that's what Disney and Marvel does. So everybody's kind of like familiar with it, but they probably just didn't know the term. But they taught me that in school. But you know Disney and all them.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I may not, we may have grown up with the comic book, but the kids today, they don't care about that. They care about the pop doll. So I want a pop doll of Spider-Man instead of the book. But a girl wouldn't care about nothing like that. She may want the Spider-Gwen stuffed animal. So you go, how can I leverage my content or my IP into another stream of revenue? So that is what I learned in school and how to do. So knowing that, I go, okay, I have the back end of the streaming coming in. Okay. And I make sure that I get as much percentage of that streaming revenue by creating most of the song. So if either I buy the beat or I make the beat. So then now I own that. Ownership is key. So musicians, producers, if you're listening, ownership is key. If you don't own the beat, you don't. If you haven't written the music, you fail. One of the most famous stories is TLC. Most of them didn't make money because they didn't write those songs. The person who was making the most money off of it, RIP, is Lisa Left Eye Lopez because the rapper was writing her own lyrics. So when it came for the royalties of the writing that we get paid every quarter, they're called PROs, they're called performance right organizations. And if your producer friend is not on there, he needs to be, because that's a back end type of music stream revenue. Um,
Okay.
every quarter you get paid for the royalties for the writing, for the actual performance, and the mechanical. So there's three things. Mechanical used to be CDs, but mechanical is actually the production. If I made the beat, right? If I made the instrumental, I get paid for that. If I wrote it, I get paid for that. If I performed it, I get paid for that. So for example, if I'm Michael Bublé and I sing a Christmas song, and I'm just singing it, and somebody else, and Bing Crosby, he did everything else, then that means I only get 1/3. If I made the beat as Michael Bublé, that means I get 2/3 because I made the beat and I sung it. But the writer credit is still going to go back to Bing Crosby, and that's an example for you. So you want to make sure that you have as much ownership as you can of that record. We call it a record in the music industry. We don't say song, we say record. Control of the record. We want to make sure that we have a physical product, whether it's merch, a stuffed animal, a comic book, whatever. We want to make sure that we do shows, and we want to make sure we control as much as we can of that show. So if you can cut out some of the middlemen, you can make money there. Also, there's also one of the big money revenue streams is synchronization. So I've done this before. I've synchronized my song to a commercial. So if you've ever watched UFC, or you've ever watched Disney, or you watched any sports show, and you'll see a song pop up for like 5 to 10 seconds, that's called a synchronization. You can do that on sports. You can also do it on reality shows. So if you hear like a pop song or a hip hop song in the back of Keeping Up with Kardashians, that's a synchronization. Recently, one of my biggest syncs was with a movie by Denzel Washington called Journal for Jordan. So one of the big songs that I've done that was also a Billboard hit is called "I Left My Home." So
Yep.
Sony paid us to use a 15-second snippet in that movie.
That's cool.
So there's about 5 to 7 revenue streams that artists can take advantage of, but you want to make sure that you register your music through the performing rights organization. You want to make sure that you own this music, because once you own it, then when Sony, Disney, whoever come along and say, "Hey, I would like to synchronize this music," then you could get paid off of the licensing. So it's like you can Sony pays you, ESPN pays you, and you can keep getting paid, because one thing that artists don't do, one of the biggest mistakes, and it's crazy because if you listen to Jay-Z, Jay-Z is one of the biggest business people in music. He says, one of my favorite lines that I use as inspiration, he says, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man," which means is I treat myself as a business. I treat myself as an IP. So if you want me to show up, I'm an appearance. You need to pay for that. If you want me to speak, that's another fee. If you want me to perform, that's another fee. If you want me to sit there and sign albums, that's another fee. That's another fee. So look, I told people how to get 4 streams of revenue on an appearance. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you treat yourself and look at yourself differently, and you say, "Hey, I'm worth this amount of money," and why am I worth this amount of money? It's because I bring this, and this, and this, and this to the table. And that's basically how I make money. I make money treating myself like an IP, and I say, "Okay, cool. How can I leverage this?" And then, I'm going to ask you, "Hey, can I grab a snippet of this podcast?" I'll grab that, and then what we'll do, both of us can do it. We put it on social media. We can generate revenue through the ads that's on this piece of content. You know what I mean? A snippet from this. So if people are really true entrepreneurs, if they're really true business people, they can leverage their skill as a product, and that's what I do. I don't look at myself as a musician. I look at myself as an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur is trying to make money everywhere. I want to show up. I want to, you know what I mean? Because Gary Vee said something I saw the other day because somebody was like, I'm an entrepreneur like you, Gary. And Gary's like, hold up. He's all, don't take this bad. Don't take offense to this, but you're not an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur like me is showing up at a garage sale. An entrepreneur like me is selling a baseball card. An entrepreneur like me is selling wine. I have no shame. I'm an entrepreneur. You may be entrepreneurial, but you're not an entrepreneur. Me, I'm like, how can I get my music on a kid show? How can I get my music on UFC? How can I sell my shirt to a girl? How can I sell my shirt to a boy? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm thinking. How can I get a grandma to listen to my music? You know what I mean? Things like that. That's entrepreneur. It's like grabbing whatever product or skill you have and finding a way to monetize it or connect that service with an individual to solve an issue and solve a problem. But I just don't I don't look at myself as a rapper or just a rapper or just a musician. And then once I changed my mindset, I was able to generate more revenue with the different streams with the different streams that I just spoke about.
Beautiful. All right. Let's see here. So we got like a little bit of time left, and I got at least two more questions I want to run to. I'm going to skip ahead to this one though, because it fits. Because obviously you're smart enough to have done the business finance side, which I really, really, really like. I think there's some great advice there. And I learned some things I didn't know, that if someone covered your song, you still got, that's really cool. So I'm curious, that kind of leads into this one, I guess. So your three biggest hits, well, I don't know for sure that they're your three biggest, but from what I could tell, your three biggest hits, all seem like they're perfectly timed for trend jacking. Is that intentional, or is it just kind of a coincidence? So like, Patriot was right around
number one,
after the election, right? And then, so like your three biggest hits, as I can tell, all seem to have been timed around specific events. And I don't know if that was intentional or if just coincidence for how you were feeling at the moment.
Bro, very, very much intentional. Very much intentional. Because the thing is one thing that I learned from life in the Marine Corps is like, you gotta be fast, man. you gotta be fast. And I realized speed. And then I realized that if I'm able to be the first out there with a solid product, I am going to be, and I'm first to market, I am going to be able to garner everybody's attention. And then they're going to be interested in that. And they're going to notice me as the person who brought them that news. I broke it first. And that's what happened. That's why TMZ is so big, because they're always the first. So yes. And I was only able to do that, like how you spoke before, was because I record every single day. So when news broke, I was like, oh, I can record this in 30 minutes and have it up on Spotify. Like, because I already knew the game. I said, oh, I know how to do this. But if I wasn't recording and if I wasn't ready, it was luck. But it was also, you have to be ready when a big moment comes. You have to be ready. So yeah, it absolutely was trend jacking or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, absolutely. Why would I not? If you're an independent artist, why aren't you going to take advantage of everything you possibly can?
I think that's brilliant. Yeah,
I feel like that. Not even for musicians, but anybody. You need to be like, what are they talking about right now? They're talking about a holiday. They're talking about this. They're talking about election. They're talking about Taylor Swift. Whoever it is, if you are in this space and you are not trend jacking, whether you're in music, whether in your real estate, whatever you're in, you're not saying, hey, this house is identical to Taylor Swift's, and that's why you need to buy it, or whatever, however you would say it in real estate. If you're not trend jacking, you're missing out on free advertising. Because the thing is, if everybody is talking about Taylor Swift, the news is already saying that. Everybody, and then the news and all these other outlets are paying for that advertising. Why not piggyback off of that and get that free advertising to push your product or service? It would be stupid not to. Now you save the money on the advertising.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so the one thing I do want to make sure that we get to before we wrap this up is, we alluded to it. So January 6th, 2021, the Patriots topping charts. Number 3 on hip hop, 4 on R&B, 36 in all digital songs. Crushing.
It was number 1. It was number 1.
I'm sorry. I
No, eventually,
apologize.
no. When it came back, it was.
Okay,
It
so
was.
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Was can you tell us about the experience and like if you ever got clarity on why it got removed and how you got it back? I know we don't have a ton of time left, but
Yeah.
I'd love to hear. I mean, that's I
Bro,
can't imagine the emotional ride that must have been.
bro, it was so crazy. It was so crazy. So like we're topping the charts because Mariah Carey just had her number one, and then it was the week after, so nobody cares about Christmas anymore, and we knew that. So we knew we can get in that hole where nobody's dropping music because people were being lazy, right?
So how did that feel? Like the emotional roller coaster between having a hit song get yanked and then come back and everything else. How was that experience?
It was a test of resiliency.
Yeah.
It was a test of resiliency because that was my first Billboard charting single. So imagine I was in the Marine Corps and I had a lot of naysayers and people saying I could never do it to charting on the highest music chart with industry people. So so it was like I finally made it, you know what I mean? Made it out the hood, made it on the charts, proved some naysayers wrong and stuff, and then it gets yanked. And I'm like, what? So I was like, okay. Then I thought, how does Billboard collect their data on sales? And they said there is no restriction on selling hard copy person to person. So that's where Master P keeps coming up because I love that dude.
Yeah.
I said, what did Master P do? He's like, he parked in the parking lot and said, hey, want a CD? Want a CD? Want a CD? If you didn't want it, you just kept walking. Want a CD? Want a CD? So what we did, we didn't literally like sell it hand to hand, but I put hard copies on my website.
There you go.
Now you can't do that anymore. Like they made it's crazy. It's crazy. We was in there in a crazy like loophole type of time where they had no rule against selling hard copy CDs of one single. Now you can't sell one single on a hard copy CD to count towards the numbers on Billboard. Now you have to sell a whole album. And I know for a fact we had a big impact on that. 100%. I know it, you know it, everybody else listening, you guys know it for a fact because you couldn't go nowhere without hearing that song if you were like I don't know if you see it's at about to hit 18 million. So so the feelings sucked, but then it was resiliency. I was like, okay, we're gonna sell hard copies, and we sold so many hard copies, and I'm gonna tell you the price. We sold a hard copy of the single for $20 each.
Damn.
One song, $20 each, hard copy CD. We signed it, and we sold. We had to cap it at over 2,000, something like that.
Wow.
So if you do the math,
Yeah.
and
40 grand.
no labels in it.
Dude, that's
so
killer.
But that's on top of all the other stuff we already got. So as an independent artist, they're not seeing that. They may have it on their advance, but people don't realize that the artists have to pay it back. We didn't have to pay that back. 40 grand, right? Bam. In a week's work.
Dude. Yeah, because you guys had a movement
off
going.
of one song.
Yeah, that song was killer. I mean, that's how I found you. I was listening to you at Topher busting it out to Patriot, and I was
but people, this is something that people don't know. The producer is actually a Marine too.
Oh, really?
His name's Kilovic. Yeah, and I'll connect you with him because he has a lot of music and stuff. Maybe you could connect with him. Who knows? But anyways, his name's Kilovic too. So we all basically team huddled. You know what I mean? Hey, team circle. What are we gonna do? We're gonna give up, or we're gonna make this happen. And I was like, we're gonna make this happen. They're like, hey, TMR, you got the marketing background, right? So what should we do? I said, we're gonna do it how. I told them we're gonna do it just how a Master P does it, and we're gonna sell it off the trunk virtually, and then that's how it happened. But like to really kind of like sum it up, like I just used my military like grit and said, we're not gonna give up. We're not going to give up. We can't give up. We went too far. So not only did we get back on the charts, we debuted at number 1 by selling hard copies.
I love it.
And you know what I mean? It's a perfect storm. You just have to pay attention and pay attention to the market and pay attention to everything. And you can make anything you want happen. It doesn't matter what industry. I did it with music, but you can do it like, you can do it with real estate. You can do whatever, but the trend jacking thing, it works. But people think, oh yeah, I could just jack a trend or whatever. You could, but you're not going to have that level of you're not going to have that level of success, or you're not going to be able to repeat that level of success if you're not ready the next time. So
True.
that's why you see consecutive times. You see, it was the Patriot, but then I left my home, and then Let's Go Brandon, and then what is it? We have I have a new one called Yogi Bear is Dead,
I
like
was gonna I was gonna bring that up. I've been rocking out to that one. I love it.
like you know what I mean, like
Yogi
so.
Bear is dead.
And we were talking to people. Me and my buddy, his name's Jonathan Michael Fleming. He's an Army guy, and I'm
Yep.
Marine. So we got the two, the juxtaposition. And we talked to people, and they're like, "We want a funny cadence," and we're like, "Okay." We listened to the audience. We said, "All right, we'll make one." And then it's about to hit 1 million views on YouTube. You know what I mean? And we just was like, hey, we're not going to take ourselves too seriously too. That's another thing. A bit of advice I want to give people is like, don't take yourself too seriously. Like, you're human like anybody else. We make mistakes. We do great things. We mess up, whatever. We get back up and keep on fighting and keep on striving. But if you take yourself too seriously all the time, you're not going to be able to really have that level of success that you want to attain. Even Einstein, he would like juggle. You know what I mean? He would do like silly stuff. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot of great minds that would always do silly stuff and not take themselves too seriously, because in order for you to do great stuff and do serious stuff and hit those high levels, you have to be able to decompress with some type of hobby or some type of like fun thing. You know what I mean? You just can't work all the time, or you're gonna burn out. So because we're able to, have that balance and know our market and stuff like that, we're able to achieve the goals that we want to. So, and that's what I'll leave you with. It's just kind of just like, just be aware. And if you're aware, you're going to be able to really have the competitive advantage.
Dude, I love it. You've dropped some bombs on this, and I really like the entrepreneurial side of how you figure things out and you overcome obstacles, and you've got a bunch of different streams, and you're thinking outside the box. And when I hit you up, I was like, dude, he's killing it. He does music. This is awesome. We were Marines, like, cool. I don't know that I realized how deep in the business side you were, and this has been really, really cool to see how insightful and how thoughtful you are about the way that you go about these things. Um, I may just have to convince you to come back on sometime and we go way deeper, because this is a lot of fun conversation.
Anytime, bro. Anytime, bro. And whatever else you want me to talk about next time, I'm totally down. But yeah, man, I have so much respect for you. I just see your grind and your hustle and what you're doing for this whole community, and beyond for serving the country. So first of all, thank you for that. But then also, you're still serving, you're still adding to the community and the nation with what you're doing now. So it's just that mutual respect that I have for you too. So I had to come through on the pod, bro.
I love it. I appreciate it. Where can people get a hold of you when they want to check out your tunes? Where's the best place?
Like they told us in the military, KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Everywhere at the Marine Rapper. If you type that in, I pop up.
Easy. TMR. Raymond Lott, the Marine Rapper. And it's just
Sir.
good. I love it. So, Raymond, thanks for joining us today. This has been phenomenal. I've had a great time. Thank you for tolerating my technical difficulties in the middle there, making this a very unique show.
Thank you for tolerating my scheduling too. I really appreciate you. I know it's hard on the holidays and stuff like that, and bearing with me as well. So I appreciate you. Much love to you and your fam.
Absolutely, brother. You have a great day. Let me sign this.
You too, man. Peace.